$10,000, that's the number nobody in your life will tell you actually matters. Not 100,000, not a million, 10 grand. Because somewhere between $0 and $10,000 in the bank, something switches off in your brain and switches on in theirs. The bank stops seeing you as a liability. The system stops being able to squeeze you. And the people who already have money? They knew this decades ago. They built an entire economy around keeping you 3 paychecks away from broke because a broke person takes any deal, any interest rate, any job, any offer. But the second you cross that $10,000 line, you stop being prey. You become someone who can say no, and no is the most expensive word in finance. Today I'm breaking down exactly what changes, dollar for dollar, decision for decision, the moment you're no longer poor enough to exploit. And I want to be clear about something before we go further. This isn't a video about getting rich. $10,000 won't make you rich. It won't buy you a house. It won't retire you. It won't get you a seat at any table you actually want to sit at. But it will do something almost nobody talks about. It will change the physics of your entire financial life. Not the amount, the physics. The way money moves toward you or away from you. And once you understand that shift, you'll never look at a paycheck the same way again. Here's the lie you've been sold since you were old enough to open a bank account. The lie says wealth is about income. Get a better job, get a raise, get a side hustle, and eventually the money problem solves itself. It's a comforting lie because it puts everything on effort and nothing on structure. It tells you that if you're still struggling, you just haven't worked hard enough yet. But I want you to think about someone making $90,000 a year with $4,000 in credit card debt and zero savings. And I want you to think about someone making $55,000 a year with $11,000 sitting in a savings account. Who's more financially free? It's not close. The $55,000 person can eat a job loss. They can eat a car repair. They can say no to a bad manager, a predatory landlord, an exploitative loan. The $90,000 person, on paper, the successful one, is one emergency away from a financial spiral that could take years to climb out of income. Is what you're allowed to keep. Savings is what actually protects you. And the system, the credit system, the labor market, the entire consumer economy is built to keep your income high enough to make you feel comfortable while keeping your savings low enough to keep you controllable. Because a person with no cushion doesn't negotiate. They don't wait for a better offer. They don't say no. They take whatever's in front of them. Because whatever's in front of them is better than nothing. That's not a personal failure. That's the system working exactly as designed. The organic CTA. If this is the first time you're hearing your income was never the actual problem, you're going to want the rest of what I break down today. So hit subscribe now, because the next video on this channel goes even deeper into how the wealthy structure their cash, specifically to stay untouchable. All right, let's get into it. Point 1, the interest rate flip. Here's the first thing that changes the moment you cross $10,000, and it's the one nobody explains because it's boring. But boring is where the money actually lives. Below that number, you are statistically a borrower. Above that number, you become functionally a lender. And those are two completely different relationships with the financial system. Let's do the actual math. Because vague statements about financial freedom don't mean anything without numbers attached. Say you're carrying $3,000 of revolving credit card debt at a typical interest rate of 24%. That's not unusual. It's the average. That debt is costing you roughly $720 a year just in interest, just for the privilege of not having the cash up front. Now flip it. That same $3,000, if it existed as savings instead of debt, sitting in a high-yield account earning even 4.5%, would be generating you about $135 a year. That's an $855 swing every single year, on the exact same $3,000 depending entirely on which side of the ledger it sits on. Now scale that to $10,000. If that $10,000 is debt at 24%, it's bleeding you $2,400 a year. If it's savings at 4.5%, it's paying you $450. That's a swing of nearly $3,000 a year, recurring, compounding, just from moving one number across the zero line. Here's the psychological root cause behind why most people never make this flip. It's called present bias. The human brain values immediate relief over long-term math, every single time, unless it's trained not to. When you're short on cash, the emotional payoff of buying something now, financing something now, swiping the card now, feels enormous. The interest cost feels abstract because it's deferred. You don't feel 24%. You feel the relief of solving today's problem. That's why debt accumulates so easily, and savings accumulates so slowly. One rewards you instantly, the other rewards you eventually, and the human brain is wired to chase instant. The non-obvious execution rule here isn't spend less. Everybody's heard that, and it doesn't work because it's not specific. The rule is this: every time you're about to make a non-essential purchase over $50, calculate what that $50 would earn you in a year sitting in savings versus what it would cost you in a year sitting on a card. Don't do this in your head. Actually say the numbers out loud. This cost me $2.25 a year in lost interest, or it cost me $12 a year in interest if I finance it. Making the abstract number concrete kills the present bias, because now you're not fighting a feeling, you're comparing two numbers, and your brain is much better at rejecting bad math than rejecting bad feelings. Point 2. The negotiation leverage effect. The second thing that changes is far less obvious, and it has nothing to do with interest rate. It's about what savings does to your posture in every single negotiation you'll ever have for the rest of your life. Job offers, salary reviews, apartment leases, car deals, even arguments with your own boss about your workload. Here's the scenario. Two people apply for the same job. Same skills, same resume, same interview performance. One of them has $400 in the bank. The other has $10,000. The interviewer can't see the bank balance, but they don't need to. It leaks out anyway, in body language, in how quickly you accept the first number thrown at you, in whether you ask a single follow-up question about compensation or just say that works. The second a figure is mentioned. Let's put a number on this. Studies on negotiation consistently show that people who negotiate their starting salary even once end up earning between 5 and 7% more in that role than people who accept the first offer. On a $50,000 salary, that's roughly $3,000 a year, and because raises are typically calculated as a percentage of your existing salary, that gap doesn't stay flat. It compounds every single year you stay in that job or the next one, because your next employer is often anchoring off your last salary too. Over a 10-year career, that single moment of negotiation, or failure to negotiate, can be worth $30,000 to $50,000 in cumulative earnings. The psychological root cause is something behavioral economists call scarcity mindset narrowing. When you don't have a financial cushion, your brain isn't actually thinking about the long game of your career. It's thinking about surviving the next 30 days. Scarcity shrinks your mental bandwidth. It's been measured in actual cognitive testing. People under financial stress perform measurably worse on unrelated logic and reasoning tasks. Not because they're less intelligent, but because a portion of their processing power is permanently occupied running background calculations about rent and bills. You cannot negotiate confidently for your future when part of your brain is stuck defending your present. The execution rule. Never accept a financial offer, a job, a lease, a car price within 48 hours of receiving it, unless it expires sooner. That's it. That's the entire rule. 48 hours doesn't sound like leverage, but it is, because it forces a pause between the offer and your scarcity-driven brain's urge to grab it immediately. $10,000 in the bank doesn't make the 48 hours easier emotionally by accident. It makes it easier because you now have actual proof, sitting in an account, that you can survive without saying yes today. That proof is the leverage, not the money itself, the permission the money gives you to wait. Point 3. The compounding runway. Here's the third shift, and it's the one that actually builds real wealth over time, not just stability. It's what $10,000 does as a launchpad for compound growth, and why the first $10,000 is mathematically the hardest and most important money you will ever save. Let's run the real numbers, because this is where people's eyes glaze over, and that's exactly why they stay broke. If you invest $10,000 in a diversified index fund averaging a historical 7% annual return after inflation, and you never add another dollar to it, in 25 years that $10,000 becomes roughly $54,000. Never touch it again. Just let it sit. $54,000 from doing nothing, because you already did the hard part. You got the first $10,000 together. Now compare that to someone who doesn't hit $10,000 until 10 years later than you did. Same $10,000, same 7% return, but now it only has 15 years to compound instead of 25. That version grows to about $27,000. Same amount of money, same rate of return, half the result, purely because of when it started. This is why financial advisors obsess over what they call time in the market, and it's also why the first $10,000 matters more than the second, third, or fourth $10,000. It's not about the money, it's about the clock you start running. The psychological root cause blocking people from this is something called the finish line illusion. Most people treat saving $10,000 as the destination, the goal, the reward, the thing you finally get to relax about. But financially literate people treat it as the starting gun. The moment that money exists, it should stop being savings and start being capital. Money that's working, not money that's resting. The mental shift from money I saved to money that's now generating more money is the single biggest gap between people who stay at $10,000 for the rest of their lives and people who use it to build actual wealth. The execution rule is brutally simple and almost nobody follows it. The moment your savings crosses $10,000, the next dollar you save does not go into the same account. It goes into an investment account, immediately automated, so you never have to make that decision emotionally in the moment. Keep your $10,000 as your untouchable emergency floor, and build a second, separate compounding account starting the very next day. Because if you keep piling every future dollar on top of that same $10,000, you'll unconsciously start treating the whole pile as spendable safety net instead of half safety net, half growth engine, and you'll never make the leap from saving money to building wealth. So here's the harsh reality. $10,000 will not fix your life. It won't make your boss respect you more. It won't fix a relationship that's already broken. It won't undo a decade of bad financial habits overnight. What it does is remove you from the group of people the system is specifically designed to exploit. The group that takes the first offer, the group that finances everything, the group that's one car repair away from a payday loan. That's it. That's the whole trick. You're not trying to get rich. You're trying to exit the exploitable category. Here's what you do tomorrow morning, in order. First, open a separate high-yield savings account today, not next week, today. And name it something you can't lie to yourself about, like untouchable or do not touch. Second, Calculate exactly what $40 a week looks like over the next 4.5 years, because that's roughly what it takes most working people to hit $10,000 from zero without changing their income at all. $40 a week is less than most people spend on food delivery fees alone. Third, automate that transfer for the day after payday, not the day before rent, so the money leaves before your brain gets a vote. Fourth, every time you get a raise, a bonus, a tax refund, or unexpected money, 50% of it goes straight into that account before you make a single plan for the other half. And fifth, the moment you cross 10,000, immediately open the second account we just talked about. Because the goal was never to stop at 10,000. The goal was to stop being controllable at 10,000 and start being an investor the day after. And look, I know some of you watching this are sitting at zero right now, maybe even in the negative, and this whole video feels like it's describing a different planet. It's not. Every person who's ever crossed that $10,000 line started exactly where you are. And the only difference between them and everyone else was that they stopped waiting for a bigger paycheck to fix it and started building the floor first. If you want the exact week-by-week breakdown of how to build that first 10,000 from absolute zero, even on a minimum wage income, I made an entire video walking through the precise math. It's linked right at the end of this one, and it's the natural next step from everything you just heard. Go watch that next, because understanding why 10,000 matters is only half the equation. Knowing exactly how to build it fast without losing your mind is the other half.